don't have to travel all the way to Mexico City to learn about the history of the church in Mexico. Now there's a new museum right in Provo, Utah. Fernando Gomez and his wife Enriqueta opened up a museum of Mormon Mexican history 20 years ago in Mexico City. They felt that there was enough interest here to build one in the United States. Fernando got the idea to start a museum when he found some of his Aunt Consuelo's old books and poems.
Because of the work that she did in collecting books and keeping diaries and photographs, it inspired us to be able to do what we have done over the last 2 decades.
Jessica Gomez, Fernando's oldest granddaughter, said she learned a lot about her ancestors who joined the church early on.
It just makes my testimony stronger just because I know that they went through a lot to have it here for me.
People came from all over to attend the ribbon-cutting ceremony. The Alva family drove all the way from New Mexico.
This is a fantastic opportunity to be here because this museum is going to talk about the early saints that joined the church in Mexico back in the late 1800s and 1900s. Among them was my grandparents.
Elder Marlene K. Jensen of the Quorum of the 70 and Executive Director of the Church History Department said that the church in Mexico today has as many members as the entire church in 1955.
The church at that time consisted of about 1 million members, about 200 stakes, 24 missions with a handful of temples. And that's what we have in the entire country of Mexico today. So it's not an insignificant part of the general church's history.
My oldest have always said that she wants to go move and live in Mexico. And so with all this, she got really interested about seeing all the art and old books. And so I think that's really neat.
Fernando showed us some of his favorite things in the museum, like this old Mexican newspaper that talked about some of the early church history events.
The first newspaper that we found was dated July 27, 1844, exactly 30 days after the prophet and his brother Hiram were murdered in Carthage. So the news that it was there in Mexico City started an event of documents that were printed in 152 newspapers that we have found and have documented and written the history.
Listen to a full interview with Fernando on MormonChannel.org.